like I'm not as close with mom anymore, I feel like.
What? What? You are welcome to work in the family business.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. I'm just saying that I feel like since you and Didi have gotten so much closer,
No.
I think it's brought me and Baya together.
Oh, great. So we have teams now.
What?
Hello, namaste. Zarna Garg here with the Zarna Garg Family Podcast. So excited to have 4 Gargs in the house. 4 Gargs, yay! My husband of 26 years, Shalab Garg, Wall Street veteran. My daughter, who's finishing college soon, Zoya Garg. My middle one, Brach Garg, is finishing up freshman year and is in the middle of final exams, so he will not be joining today. Sorry to disappoint his fans, but my little one, Veer, who is a middle schooler, is looking and feeling already very sassy, and I think he's going to take the spot for his brother and him and offer all his unfiltered opinions as he usually does. So let's get right into it. We're so excited to get this topic kick-started. This topic is really on my mind because my daughter is graduating college and we are about to transition to a different sort of agreement between me and her and our family and her. And it's going to be touchy. It's going to be raw. People are going to get upset. And that's okay because that's what we do on this podcast. The topic is, what are the risks of building a business with a family? What is the downside of building a business with a family? What are all the problems with a family owned business? What are all the things we are afraid of will go wrong? Look, the upside is the upside. We already know what that is. But what are the downsides? And I just want to warn our listeners and viewers that this is a topic of hot contention between my husband and me, because we ourselves, the two of us, don't agree on whether we should be doing this at all. But Zoya and I have decided to build this business together, my media business. And what are we worried about? What are all the things that could go wrong?
This is I already can feel myself getting triggered because you said my media business. And listen. It is true that it is your business and I am stepping into it, and I'm very aware of that. And one issue with the family business is you have to have a really low ego to do it. When you're in a situation where you're in corporate America, your role is very defined, and in many ways you're made to feel very special because you are you're in your own lane given some jurisdiction that is completely yours. But when you're running a family business, everything is everyone's, and it's
Zoya, let's take a step back. Can I ask you, as you graduated college, you had 4 options. Option number 1, to work at a company. Option number 2, to do something entrepreneurial with classmates or otherwise, but in tech, given that you're graduating Stanford, or something of your own, but in San Francisco. Option number 3, to do a master's, right? A 1-year master's in computer science, which would have been only Stanford kids get that option, right? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
To do a 2-year program in one, and
There's
you
a
had that.
I'm curious what people think in the chat about this, but Stanford offers a very, very, very popular program where if you've been in the undergraduate program, you can apply to be in a 1-year master's program. And a lot of students take it, and it's a very hot button issue because the idea is that 1 year isn't a long time and you get a master's degree. But another school of thought is that it's just prolonging the inevitability of adulthood.
But you have and had that option, and the 4th one was to then join your mother's career journey. And I just want to lay it out for everyone that you joining that business is not like Anant Ambani joining Reliance and Company. In other words, it's a business in its infancy in itself. People may think that joining a family, there can be 2 kinds of family businesses. One is where it's already built out and the child is just joining it and doing better with it, but nonetheless, it's billions of dollars already. And the second is when the business itself is in its infancy, in being it's in a few years old at best, right? And you're joining it, potentially joining it. So what?
No, not
what were the?
I'm joining it.
Okay, so what are the thoughts that occurred in your head when you joined the 4th, outcome as opposed to the other 3? please enlighten me as well, because I, as your dad, don't really know completely what went through your head.
This is coming from a very passive aggressive place. I hope that
How
the
is it
audience.
passive
It's
aggressive?
okay. Your anger is already like palpable through these wires. Everybody can see it, but
Veer,
that's okay. Veer,
I
do you
think
see
that
it? Veer, do you see it or do you not see it? Do you
do you
see
see
it or
any
do you not?
anger in your dad right now in seeing all of this?
no, he's not angry.
Veer, who's you didn't see it? You didn't see him like gently laying the path of like you could have done this, you could have done this, you could have done this.
It's just an honest answer. Veer, if you feel differently, please, you're the only neutral party in this podcast because your brother is not here. So please tell us exactly how you feel. And if you feel it's passive aggressive, say it.
It's not. Oh no, it is. It is passive aggressive for sure.
Thank you.
How?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're saying it like you're like, why would you possibly pick that fourth outcome? It's like
Yes.
you're
yes,
sending a shot.
Yes.
This is ridiculous. Completely
Shots
ridiculous.
been fired. Shots been fired, and I caught some strays. I'm not even gonna get into it, but I know what that means.
Okay. Anyways, I
Straight.
think that
Yeah.
what happens, like, what happens outside of the business also affects what happens in the business. Because, like, for example, if we get into a fight, right, we've gotten into fights right before a podcast episode has been shot, and then there's just this like unanswered, like no closure tension that's still there, but we can't talk about it because we're working obviously, and I'm sure that's happened between you two where for the book stuff, like you guys would be in a little dispute, and then it'll affect how you guys are in a relation, how the relationship is while other people are there. And it's the same for, I feel like you and Mom and Didi have gotten a lot closer, and it's like I'm not as close with Mom anymore, I feel like.
What? What? You're welcome to work in the family business.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
not saying it's a bad thing at all. I'm just saying that I feel like since you and Didi have gotten so much closer,
No.
I think it's brought me and Baya together.
Oh, great.
I would so much rather.
And me and Bree together too, because we are alone a lot of times.
Yeah, and me and Dad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what?
and me and Dad. Yeah.
That,
No, he's not wrong at all.
Say that, Veer. We talk all the time.
I'm just saying that I feel like me and the two other boys have gotten a lot closer
okay.
through you and Didi
Anyway,
working
that was
together.
not the intent of my question. And I'm sorry
but I
that
think you're
it came
just-
across as passive aggressive. I just think that someone who has spent over almost $500,000 educating herself should have a clean plan as
She
to what
does have a clean plan. She's working
Yeah,
with me
what?
building the business.
Okay, listen. Okay, let's just take a step
This
back.
is the plan. What's
I
wrong
just
with
want
the
her to
plan?
explain herself as to what
my
went
God.
through.
Take a step back. Let's just take a step back. First of all, Veer, that was so true. That point is exactly true. That the boundaries between personal life and professional life often get blurred. They often get blurred, and so that is one of the trickiest parts of running a family business as well. So, for example, one thing that Zarna and I navigate, I'm calling her Zarna. That's the crazy thing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, another thing, right? Like somebody asked on a recent podcast, does Zoya call her mom Zarna? And every business meeting, every work email, on stage, I call Zarna Zarna. When we're working, Zarna is Zarna. And when we're enjoying family time, she's mom. But I would never call her mom in a professional context because I don't get taken seriously. And she's not mom to me in that moment. She's Zarna, like we're working. And I'm held to the same standard, if not higher standards, that she holds every person that she's hired and is working with.
Like
So,
a nepo baby, is that what you mean?
no, I'm saying that the
That's
truth
passive aggressive.
is, yeah.
How is that,
Thank you.
how is that passive
That's
aggressive?
so like
Her voice is literally cracking.
That's not
because-
even passive. It's just full on aggressive, is all I'm going to say right now.
Okay, I'm just going to keep shut. I'm not going to say. Go ahead and say what you
Okay.
need to say.
And then I'm gonna add one more thing that comes to mind, and then I'll return to your question, Dad. Another part that is challenging about okay, for example, when you're doing a business, you are supposed to receive feedback, right? Critical feedback. When you make a mistake, which is inevitable, when you don't follow through on a commitment, which is inevitable, like when things go wrong, when I don't deliver to Zarna, the feedback that she gives me can sometimes feel really crushing because it's coming from my mom as well. So that is really challenging as well sometimes. I've learned how to like navigate that better, but that is another part that's challenging. To answer your question, Dad, I was not going to do a master's program because I don't believe that the utility of a master's program would make sense for the investment. I see a lot of students who get master's degrees and pay the extra $100,000, and I still don't see them getting jobs. I still don't see them finding greater satisfaction in their lives, and I do think it's prolonging what is inevitably supposed to happen. I don't think it makes sense in my context. I know I want to be an entrepreneur, so it doesn't make sense for me to get a degree that is really valuable in corporate America, but not necessarily valuable in the field of work I'm interested in. Second, starting a company with my friends. So this was something I actually did think about, right? I know a lot of Stanford students are really intelligent. I'm friends with a lot of them. I've worked with many of them. I started a hacker house last summer where I lived with so many entrepreneurs who have raised millions of dollars from people. What I learned in that is I don't want to raise venture-backed funding. I just don't. I'm not interested in that. I think for young people, it can be very corrupting in the mind to believe. Because when you raise venture funding, VCs will tell you you're worth millions of dollars, you're this, you're that. And I do think some people can navigate that really well. I don't think I'm one of those people. I think if somebody told me, Zoya, you're worth like $10 million now, all this stuff, I don't know. I'm not interested in that in this current moment in time. And second, finding a team that is a well-oiled machine is really hard to build. And we've already built it over the last 5 years without even realizing it, right? Like we've been working with people that I've worked with since high school, including like in a tutor capacity, in a like school capacity. I love the people I work with, right? Like why would I then go back to the drawing board and build a whole new team when I love who I'm working with already? And the last thing is that mom and I work really well together. We just do. We're pulling off things that people watch us pull off and they say, how did they pull that off? Right? Like this New York Times bestseller win, Zarna and I.
Can you explain what you meant in that?
Yeah.
I know what you mean, but just to explain.
I'll explain. So Zarna wrote a book. It's a memoir, This American Woman. You've probably seen it. When you write a book, there is an extremely elaborate, long process before the book is actually published where somebody needs to be attached to selling all the pre-orders and all the book, right? Like somebody has to sell the book once the book has been made. I took on that job for 7-8 months, and the biggest deliverable that you can offer an author is that book makes the New York Times bestseller list. It's just the biggest deliverable you can make. And we did it, right? And that's like a once in a lifetime achievement that now, I'm not even joking, but like I have people in my phone DM'd me personally, has been DMing me, I want to hire you. One of the biggest comedians in the world. Oh, this wonderful woman who runs the messaged me, I got at least 100 messages from like extremely brilliant people being like, I want to hire you on the basis of how excellent your work was with your mom. Now I'm running this business with her. I have no interest in those jobs, but that's just demonstrative of the actual value that I was adding, and thereby like, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, I just think this is the highest value thing I can be doing right now. Also, okay, I've been talking for so long and I want to stop. It makes no sense to not take risks right now for the next 5 years. I'm literally 22, no kids. I don't have a husband. I don't have a home that I've bought and purchased. If I didn't take risks right now, that in itself is the biggest risk you can take as a 22-year-old.
Okay, I appreciate you answering the question. Veer, what do you think?
What do I think about what?
Your Didi doing this.
I think it was smart. I think you made the right decision. That's my thought.
He asked you because he was hoping you came out on the other side. Did you notice that? Did you notice that slight? Like,
how could I, especially after they hit the goal? Like, how could you I don't understand how you could think that's wrong. Like,
No, I understand why he thinks that, because there's no money attached to a New York Times bestseller designation, right? So a lot of people, and he's not alone. There are a lot of people who look at it. They're like, "So what's the big deal about this? There's no paycheck attached to it. There's
but
no
this will
money
bring the
attached."
other things. This will bring the
Yes,
other lines up.
but that's all operating in faith, which is what an entrepreneur does. No one at New York Times is giving us a check and saying, "Here's money, you made the list." You make these lists, you make these metrics, and the whole business of entrepreneurship is operating on faith that the next step will be higher and better than the one you just took. But it's all faith based. If you are at a company and you hit a goal, you get money for it. You get a bonus, you get a day off, or whatever the
I guess
structure is.
so. Then the next question I would have is for you, Zarna, that if there is a position of that kind that existed in your business, is Zoya the best person for it?
Not anymore, because that book project was a limited time project that I clearly told her that once that goal is achieved, we will move you to another project or to another business within my entity. I have so many things I want to get done. My business is exploding. I'm hiring constantly, but I only hired really the very, very best. And even if my kids want to work in my own business, they have to do really hard jobs well. There's going to be no easy job in my business. So now Zoya and I have agreed that she is going to put her hands around this podcast and actually develop it and bring it to a point where it's like a top 10 podcast in the country, because we see the potential, we see how much love it has, but there are risks to it for both of us. It's not just risk for Zoya, it's risk for me too. I'm putting in a lot of my time and energy in Zoya. I'm funding her existence right now out of my business. And if 5 years from now she becomes a household name, she might just be like, "I did it all myself."
Yeah, and I
She
think
could.
the risk I take, there's a lot of risks, right? Like there's so many risks. Like a risk I take, for example, is, you know, maybe that I I spent all this time getting a computer science degree, right? Like learning how to code, all these
And
things.
classics, you're a double major.
Yeah, but in many ways, I use my classics degree more on a day-to-day basis than I do my computer science degree. And so, one risk I take is one thing I think about a lot is in the age of AI, right? A lot of businesses are being built around me in this ecosystem that are going to win because AI is going to affect every single industry. It's going to make everything more efficient. So, one other way I could be spending my time is building in that space where I have a lot of friends who could teach me and are teaching me every day what's going on. Now, what I will say is I'm taking all of those skills and applying it in our business, right? Like, I'm already thinking, like, what are the ways that I can make our podcast producers' life easier in terms of like easier podcasting software that can like remove some of the editing process for her. Those are things I'm thinking about in our next steps. So it's not like anything is lost. It's just a cost benefit analysis at all moments. I do think. I also, the truth is, I think running a family business and being in a family business is the single coolest thing I could be doing right now. I just love it. I love being able to say that I'm my like business partner is my mom. I just think nobody else is doing that, and I always want to be the person that's going a little bit against the grain.
I think the idea that business and family don't mix originated when men worked and women sat at home. So the men would go and do their things, whatever they were up to at work, and not mix it with the woman life at home. And you were not, because if you mix it, you're complicating things, because they were up to all their shady shit, and then the women were sitting at home and being the perfect wives and moms and cooks and whatever. I just don't think the idea that business and family don't mix, or friends and business don't mix, applies anymore. Because I have seen any number of businesses, including some of the biggest businesses in the world today, including Microsoft, including Facebook, including all those companies, were built by friends who chose to work together.
Yeah.
Didi, what do you feel when people are hating on you for being in a family business? How do you handle that?
Well, I didn't know people were hating on her.
People hate on me every single day.
Why? And what was their reason to hate on you?
No matter what you do, you're gonna get hate.
The number one thing I get is you're just Zarna's daughter. You'll
Yeah.
always just be Zarna's daughter. Zarna is the lifeline of this business. She is the one who has the actual talent, and you are just Zarna's daughter. You're just, you know, you just are leveraging off of what she's built, and you
And
have
why is that a bad thing? I don't understand. I mean, in the finance business, people do that all the time, where the hedge fund manager who established the hedge fund will hire his son as a head of business, and it happens all the time. Nobody complains there.
Well, the idea is that I I think a lot of people try to minimize what I have accomplished by saying that I have no identity outside of my mom, which I think is actually not it's a low hanging fruit insult, because a lot of what we do is under the brand of Zarna Garg, right? Like, we have the Zarna Garg family podcast, we have the Zarna Garg, like, my social media is very much around like all the things that Zarna and I do together, right? It's not just Zoya Garg. And I am operating on faith that as I continue to build the Zarna Garg brand, in the same way that I am operating on faith that every single person that's a part of our business is going to succeed in wild ways by building this with us, that, like, I'm just operating on faith. If one of us succeeds, we will all succeed, right? And I genuinely believe that. And I'm getting a lot more comfortable in my life now letting people misunderstand me. That's a big part of being an entrepreneur too. A lot of the things I do are very odd. Why does Zoya go to sleep at 10 a.m. and wake up at 5 a.m. every day? Because Zoya has 100 emails she needs to respond to in the morning, very clear, needs to just get them done. That's not what most people have to do, right? Like, I have calls all day. I, need to be able to be high energy for everything that I do.
So you don't feel like embarrassed or flustered anymore?
I mean, I definitely feel embarrassed, but I think, I don't know. I think being an entrepreneur is also like, what's your threshold for embarrassment?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Like,
Well-
if you're going to get embarrassed, you should not be an entrepreneur, because you're going to get slapped around and humiliated on the daily. Like, that is a big part of being rejected constantly is a reality of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Veer, do you
think-
think you could have this as a career too?
Have what?
Just like working with your mom?
I don't know. I'm not. I haven't thought about it at all.
What do you think, Baya? Would he?
I don't think Baya would.
Why would you say that? Yes, he would. He wants to. He's dying to do it. Why would you just say that?
I can't even say anything. Like, I made one opinion, and I don't think he would. But
I mean,
maybe
we're
he'll prove
all
me wrong.
working together already.
Yeah, we are already all in this business by doing this podcast, even.
And
So,
Right.
in some sense, we're all working together already.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's not the same thing. I mean, I would not be okay with just doing this. Like, I like having my own independent business and finance, which is where I've spent 20 plus years. And the reason I feel proud when people stop me and call me Zarna's husband is because I know that in 20 of those 26 years that she talks about, I was the primary breadwinner. So it doesn't make me insecure in any way or form. It's just not the same thing.
Why would you frame it like just doing this when I know that I'm not insecure about, I know you recognize the work that I did, but what I'm saying is that if the work that I'm able to do, for example, in order to be the person leading a pre-order campaign for the biggest publishing house in the world with one of the most important comedians of of our time right now, you would usually need 20 years of experience minimum to take that job on. Would you say that's true, Mom? If you had hired somebody third party, they would be like,
Yeah, I would have looked for somebody extremely experienced. Yes.
right. I got that opportunity because Zarna trusts me, because she's seen the work I've done, and also because I'm her daughter. Now, that job was independent of Zarna in many ways. I
mean, to be fair, so I understand the gravity and the importance of that project, but it is also a one-off project. It's not a career in itself, right? In other words, yes, there was a specific need to sell that particular book in a particular way, and you were right person for the right time, and you did a fantastic job. But I don't know how that is a long-term career.
But that's another thing, Shalab. When you're building a business, whether it's a family business or any business, it is unclear. That's why people hesitate to do it. That it is not a corporate path where you can just say, we hit this metric, then this is the next step. Everything is unclear. The only thing we know for sure right now, even as it comes to this podcast, the only thing we know for sure is that many, many, many people watch our podcast and love it and relate to it and are influenced by it in some way. that in some way all 5 Gargs are making their way into people's households in a meaningful, impactful, and overwhelmingly positive way. That's all we know. That's what Zoya is inheriting in terms of this podcast. Now, how to take that clay and mold it into a product or a service or a monetizable entertainment unit or something, that is the journey of the entrepreneurship. And so, yes, the book was step one, and the book happened because it fit the timeline of her senior year in college, and it was going to come out right before she graduated and whatever. And also, it became a test of whether we can work together at all.
Yeah.
Like, have we flopped miserably? Had we fought for 6 months and cried, and there were a lot of tears, then this would have ended very differently. She would have gone on to take another job or whatever, and I would have gone on to build something else.
I have another question, Zoya. As you know, I have started my own podcast called The Finance Dad, right? As an ancillary project. Would you work for that too and expand on that too? Or is your work limited to just doing and supporting the Zarna Garg brand?
I want to support you in anything that you do as your daughter. However, I would not take on the Finance Dad podcast as it stands right now because it's not immediately clear to me why you like what money, like what direction you want to head with this podcast in terms of like making money. So for example, it is immediately clear to me with the family podcast that the goal is that we increase our production value, we increase and more organize like all of our digital assets right now. Like, you know, we should be having videos come out like in a little bit more of a streamlined way. We just haven't had time. Like there's only one person basically doing it all, and we need to make that a little bit easier for that person. And you know, I think, for example, Zarna and I could see us going on the road together as a result of this podcast. So I want to make this podcast into a way where it's immediately obvious that Zarna and Zoya could co-host like an amazing show on the road together, so that we can sell tickets to shows and continue to build this into interesting paths.
And Shalab, the truth is that if we want to build this family podcast, that's a full-time job. Like there's no room for another job.
Yeah.
The idea is that one person devotes themselves fully. Like podcasting is an extremely competitive space. People are dying every day. There's a new podcast by a new Hollywood star, Bollywood star every 5 minutes. Like this is not a part-time job. Like the idea is that Zoya will now take it on and attack it the way she did the New York Times campaign, which was a 6-month full-time morning, day and night, 24/7
I don't
campaign.
think you understand, Dad, how much work I did actually. And that will always make me upset. That's the thing that makes me upset.
I mean, I only know what your mother has told me along the way. How would I know the intricacies
because
of the...
I posted about it every Wednesday. And like you never saw.
No, I did see it. I did read that. But it's you saying what you did as opposed to somebody else independently corroborating it.
The thing is that, Shalab, you've never been in a position where you've had to hard sell. So it's very hard to explain what it is. Like the podcast where we are right now is a product of 5 years of constant selling. It's not like here, I shot something on my table and here, somebody make it work. That's not how it works. It's a constant 24/7, 365-day sales process. So I think...
And ultimately, to be honest, Zoya, the proof of the product is in the results of it, right? The fact that 10,000 plus books got sold as a result of what you did is already proof of your work. I think that is ultimately the proof, right? Everything else is...
I think she's getting upset, and I also am a little upset because you're like, well, can you help me with my podcast?
Yeah.
As if it's like two,
It's
three
like,
multiple.
Let's be really honest. I'm just going to be really honest. The reason I won't help you with Finance Dad podcast is you're not selling it.
Okay, that's good enough.
You need to, if you want that podcast to succeed, you need to be out there every day, making sure that skits are posted, making sure clips are posted, making sure that you have like all your services in line so that if somebody wants to book a consulting hour with you, they can. This needs to be something that is like of top 3 importance. It needs to be something that you are living, breathing, sleeping, dreaming about every single day. And that is the energy I'm going to bring to Family Podcast. And unless I see the person at the top, which is you for that podcast, putting in that energy, why would somebody come on board? The reason why the Zarna Garg Family Podcast, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm going to pour my blood, sweat, tears into it is because Zarna is putting her blood, sweat, tears into this podcast every day. She's posting about it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. She's pitching us to major networks every single day. She's making sure her team, which is extremely, extremely, extremely valuable, is putting in hours every single, like putting in not just hours, but she's hiring them to put in hours. So she's investing money into it herself. And so my thing is that until I see you putting in that level of care and investment, I can't see myself as an employee being like, I'm going to care at that high level that is necessary to build that out.
Well said, but I do appreciate all your answers. And by the way, I don't know what your computer science degree is worth, but your classics degree is worth its weight in gold because you talk so well. And maybe I've said this before as well, but and communication is everything. You communicate so well.
I mean, anyway, these are some of the risks, and there are risks the other way too. As I've mentioned to Zoya, I've mentioned to Bridge, who is going to be working in the family podcast.
Wait, hold on. There's one more point I want to say.
Yeah.
I think that for me, the main downside I have of being in a family business, there's two. I think the first one is that, like, I don't get taken seriously in school. Like, I don't live school as just a regular kid. All my teachers, like, treat me like, I obviously want to be treated specially, but not for the fact that I'm your son. I want to be treated specially based on the fact that I am intelligent. Like, I want to be, they just treat me like I'm your son, which I'm.
What in practical terms, what does that mean, Veer?
Like, I feel like I'm not, I don't know how to explain this because I feel like I'm not treated as any other kid at my school. I'm treated like an outlier.
Really? I didn't know that.
But in a
By
good
teachers.
way. But in a good way.
In a good way,
With love. But because let's just pause for a second. Part of why they treat you like that is not just because I'm a comic or I'm famous or any of that. We also do a lot with your school. We've done insane amounts of fundraisers with all the kids' schools. I'm a very vocal, loud and proud supporter of the New York City public school system overall. I'm out there rallying for teachers, principals, for schools to get more resources every day. Part of the love that you get is a reaction to that. It's not just, oh, your mom's famous. Like, there are famous people's kids in schools all the time. Like, recently, I'll give you an example. I was wearing a pair of sandals, these orange sandals, that I bought in a little, very tiny store on Madison Avenue. Little store, not a big name store at all. And when I wore them on Instagram, I tagged them. Okay. And when I walk by the store, I walk by the store all the time. Your dad and I walk by that store like every single day during our walk. And when I tagged them, they saw me the next day and they called me. They came running after me on the street. They were like, thank you so much for tagging us. They're like, so many famous people buy our shoes, but no one ever tags us. We got so much business because you tagged us. And their reaction was not to my celebrity. Their reaction was to my idea of collaborating with them, which is a lot of what you get here. These teachers know how much I love them. Every New York City public school teacher, I mean, I've written an entire chapter about it in my book, about how much appreciation I have for these teachers who are putting their blood, sweat, tears, and their own money, not to mention.
I don't think that's what Veer's saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying. Okay. Anyway, so my second point.
So, but finish your thought anyway, Veer.
Okay. Well, I feel like my teachers also, like, during school, they're always constantly talking about you. To me, like, I don't get talked to about the work. They're talking to me. Oh, I saw this new thing your mom did. Oh, can we record a video? And I'm obviously not hating them for that because I understand. But sometimes it's just a little bit much to constantly be talking about you and not about regular school things.
Okay, I understand that. I understand that. No one else might, but I do.
No,
Why would nobody else would?
No, I feel that way too. I honestly feel that way too. I feel like when people ask me, a lot of times people just say, I've seen all the success your mom had, and it's a lot.
I mean, I get that, some of it myself. If I'm trying to pitch a managed account or something and realize that the only reason the person talked to me was because they wanted tickets for free to one of your things. Happens all the time, which I don't mind that because I know that what you build from scratch up and they can F themselves, It's not like somebody handed anything.
Listen, these are all realities of building a family business and a family brand. One person will be more popular on one day. One person will have a bigger thing. I tell everybody everywhere I go that building a family business. We are a family business. I'm just the face of the brand right now. The idea is that you guys all go on and do your own little offshoots and manage those things the way you want to.
Yeah, and
But
I have full confidence in that too.
yeah,
I think
Reed, you had a second point. Can you make that second
Yeah,
point
yeah.
too?
Yeah. I was going to say the second point is that other kids at school treat me a little differently. Like they bring you up a lot. Like now I'm just used to it, but I used to get really
So what would they
embarrassed.
say?
Like they would just bring up one of the skits or something I said in the podcast. Like there was one thing I said in the podcast about this girl. Like I got so much. People were talking to me at school about it all day.
but at
Because
least they're
they-
watching the podcast.
But they understood the girl that was in question.
Yeah, they all knew. They all knew who I was talking about.
Okay. Okay. So then
We-
that's you should be careful about that.
Weird.
You
What
should
if some girl
No, I
said
don't-
to you, "I don't think it's cool you're working with the family, and I don't think it's cool you're doing the podcast"? Would you drop out of it?
No, for a seventh grader, no, I'm fine. I wouldn't drop out of the podcast for a girl. No.
Okay, another thing that I think has helped us a little bit. I know we've talked about it and a lot of the negatives, and then I will get to A grades. Is I have realized that the biggest brands in the world were built with families. They were built navigating these.
I mean, the biggest brands are Coke, Apple, McDonald's. How were they built with families?
What are you talking about? Like Walmart was built by a family. Bobby
Walmart
Brown's business was
is one, but you said you made it sound like all the biggest brands were, but they're not.
You know what, Dad? I'm honestly tired of this. I just feel like you're just really
No, well, like I'm just saying that you want to have a conversation. Let's have a rational conversation and not a pushed one. I understand that family brands have succeeded
a
and
lot
other
of
brands.
those businesses were not built by one person. They were built by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, and people don't know Steve Wozniak as well, but they were built by both of them, and like a lot of other people that.
But the
don't-
two of them were
So you're
not
saying
family.
so you're saying the idea of like a community, not just a family.
Yeah, not just family. Okay, that's fine. Teams. You
I'm
want to say
saying-
teams? That's
I'm
fine. That
saying
makes sense.
that businesses are built by really, really strong teams.
Okay, fair
And-
enough. Understood.
And strong teams are really hard to build. They are so hard to build. So if you find a team in your mom, or you find a team in your romantic
Best friend. Yeah. Okay.
So, like, for example, I have a friend who started a business with her boyfriend 5 years ago, and now they're making millions of dollars every year. But everyone told them they were insane because they are in a romantic relationship together. So, for example, another business that was started by a romantic couple was Canva. A lot of people think that's crazy, especially when you're dating and you're not married. There's no like track record of commitment, but that's the team that worked. And I guess what I'm saying is, if it's not broken, don't like mess with it or whatever. Like if you find an amazing team in your family, you gotta run with it, because it's really gonna be hard for you to probably find it in other people.
Understood.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah.
Listen, and right here in this episode, we've already revealed how hard it is, because you're not talking to your boss, your employee, your colleague, you're talking to your family. The emotions get infused with the business conversations, but that doesn't mean you throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think there is a way for families to build together. We are a very pro family working together family unit, and we hope that everybody who's watching and listening is enjoying building their things together, whether it's the whole family or two people or whatever they're. And if it's not immediate family, I hope that people find other like-minded teams. That is also equally a reality. And I hope everybody has enjoyed this very kind of raw episode of the Zarna Garg Family Podcast, as we end every episode with a round of good grades with Gargs, where each Garg gives another Garg an A grade for the winning moment, for the entertaining moment, for the most memorable moment of the podcast. So too, we're going to end this podcast episode with a round of good grades with Garg. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I'm gonna give my A grade to Dad, because I was very scathing in my feedback when I felt very triggered, and you handled it really well, and you took with what I said. You took all the positive of what I said without any of the negative.
Didi, bro, you stole my exact A grade.
I didn't mean to be so.
I can get 2 A grades, Veer. It's okay.
I didn't mean to. What I mean to say is, I didn't mean to be so intense about it. It's just, it really does hurt my feelings when I feel like you don't understand how much work I've been putting in.
Understood. All right, Veer, you can give it to me too. Go ahead.
Go,
I'm
everybody,
gonna
go on, just admire your dad while I watch.
okay. I'm gonna also give my A grade to Dad because I feel like you took Didi's. I feel like generally you take constructive criticism very well. When I know it's easy to get heated from that stuff, and I think you handled it very maturely.
Wow, thank you, Veer. All right, I'm going to give my A grade to Zoya. I do think that the decision that she has made is a tough one. I don't know too many people who would make that decision. I certainly did not and could not, graduating from college. And I graduated from a college as good as she is graduating from. So I know it's a tough one. So hence, but I do know of another kid that did. And he has done very, very well over the course of 30 years and is part of our extended family as well. So these kind of decisions, while it may feel very hard once to make, can are path less traveled. And path less traveled doesn't mean that today, my point is, if you were to join Apple today versus if you were to join Apple 27 years ago, there are two different decisions to have made. And it's the same thing today for you, paths less traveled. So hence I do feel very proud of the decision that you're making, and I could not have made in your same position as you. So
I mean, I'm just so glad that the three of you have a love affair between the three of you. Nobody ever gives me an A grade, but fine. I will give this A grade to Zoya also because I know she had many other options to pursue, but she's making a bold move in going down this path and taking a leap of faith. And I think it's going to pay off in spades. But still, it's one thing to talk about it and another thing to do it, to put your money behind your mouth and to actually walk the walk. So, huge props to you, Zoya. And I hope everybody has enjoyed this episode of Good Grades with Gargs, this episode of our podcast. We can't wait to hear what you think. What are you building with your families? What are the challenges you're seeing? What do you wish for? Do you wish you were doing an entrepreneurial thing, or do you really believe in that corporate ladder? Because if you do, I want to hear about it. I'm sure Shalab will be all over it if you do. And please like, share, and subscribe our episode. It helps us grow. It helps us bring more like-minded individuals into this world of our podcasting. And until we meet again, everybody say bye.
Bye.
Bye.